Jeremy the Bear here. Hey everyone, welcome back to TV Guys, the show that introduces Muppet references that no one wants. I'm Matt.
I'm Brian, and I just told you, you said this is dumb. And I said that it probably means it's good. I was wrong.
I want to go on record and say I was completely inaccurate. I was trying to think of something that rhymes with frog for his profession, but I'm like, I can't, so I'm just going with a bear. But come on, of all the people who be like, oh, that's a stupid thing, Mr. Muppets himself over there, you loved it. You loved it.
I did. I can acknowledge that it's not that good, but I still loved it.
Correct. It was really stupid. But you know what? The rest of this episode can only go up from there. We set a really early precedent for terrible, and we're just going to improve the quality as we go on, right? Obviously.
Yeah. So, Matt, based on our previous episodes of The Bear and how I haven't loved it in the past, I'm guessing you probably are expecting me to come in and just completely hate on this show.
I'm expecting you to be like, okay, that was better than I thought it was going to be. I'm glad with how they ended it. But to still be like, I don't think I'll ever watch The Bear again.
I actually might do one more watch through because it's been so long since I watched the earlier seasons.
Yeah.
And now that I know it gets to a point in the end that I actually did like this last season a lot, I have a couple things that I thought I was hoping would have happened that didn't, and we'll get to that. But overall, I think this was the best season so far. I mean, so far it's done. But
this is a very good season, especially when you care about characters, because it's hard to watch characters self-implode. And there's a lot of self-implosion that happens in 4 seasons. And yeah, they get better with their own emotional baggage as it goes along. But there's still even a couple moments in 3 and 4. And so when we watched Gary together, the prequel to The Bear, that came out like a month before this came on, I'm like, oh no, is this what we're going to get? Because seasons 3 and 4 lowered my expectations. And then Gary was well done, but it was still a very unflinching, hard to watch episode. Yeah.
Well,
so I was like, crud.
It's also, it takes you back in time. It's Richie before all the character development, back when you absolutely just hated him.
And yet he still had some solid, like when you compare him to where Mikey was, he still had some very solid, character stuff that has been with him the entire time. But he is very loud and just Chicagoan without reckless abandon for what anyone else cares about, you know?
Yeah. No, and it was a good reminder, because you sometimes forget about Mikey and how important he is and how recent that tragedy was at the start of the show. And this was that good reminder.
I'm actually surprised that apart from flashbacks, we didn't get any new Jon Bernthal this season outside of that episode of Gary, you know?
I wonder if that's why they did Gary, because they weren't going to put him in the final season if they wanted to have one final nod to the character.
Yeah. And you know, even though they drove and went to new places and there's a lot of different sets in it, it still felt a little like a bottle episode, you know, a bottle episode adjacent, where it's like either in a car together and their locations are very limited. There's not a lot of extra actors. It's mainly those two with a little bit of others, you know. So it's like there wasn't a huge production budget, I'm sure, for Gary, and it probably didn't take a long time to shoot. So I think they're able probably to squeeze that in between John, because Jon Bernthal's getting work right now, you know.
Yeah.
He's right now, this is being recorded in the month of July, and Jon Bernthal and Tom Holland and Zendaya actually are all in 2 big movies in July. They're both in Odyssey and Spider-Man. So they've been busy, you know.
So this is the first MCU character to get their own 4th. No, Thor had 4 movies. Never mind. I answered my question immediately. There's a lot of trilogies. There's 3 Captain Americas, 3 Iron Mans, and this is the 4th Tom Holland Spider-Man. Is it just those 2 that got 4 so far?
Yeah, there's 3. if you really want to stretch the limits of that question and technicalities, you can maybe say Captain America, because the Shield itself got 4 movies, but
Yeah.
Steve hands it off to Sam.
Yeah, but
for
I
the
think they're
fourth one,
specific
so.
characters. Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but yeah,
So
coming back to this season, so I'll say something in a second because Angie had a really good thing to point out. But I want to ask Brian if you could like sum up the theme of this season. What would you say this season was about?
persevering through disaster,
I mean, that's the whole show, ain't it?
but especially this season.
Yes. I think yeah, you're right. I think there was one other part of it too that Angie keyed in on. I was like, yeah, that's really good. But the idea of you know more than you think, like you're better than you think you are,
Mhm.
and you see that with all the characters of like there's still some of their baggage holding them back, but yet they have forgiveness and they have latitude for everyone else. And so like if someone else makes a mistake, like no, we got this, we're a team, we're working together. But if they make a mistake, you can see it in their eyes, you can see it in a moment where they've are like holding it in on themselves like oh crud. And so even the small characters, and oh crud, I just forgot his name, the sommelier, what's the sommelier's name?
Um, I don't remember.
Sorry about that. He's not as big of a character, but he's still a good character. He's just not quite as big. Oh, actually, I have it pulled up, so I'd be able to see it. So the sommelier, whose name, and I'm not pausing at all. Sweeps, right?
Sure.
You know what? Let me click on it. It is Sweeps. Corey Sweeps Hendricks. All right. So Sweeps, his thing for this season, and it's small, right? It's there's 2 different types of wine, and I can't remember which one is which. I'm smelling it. He's like, my instinct says this one is the better quality one. We're
Yeah.
gonna go with that one. And so then the like prestige wine guy comes in, and he's like, oh, I can tell the difference. I know for sure which one is so good. This is my favorite wine that I've ever had. Please bring that out. And so the guy's like, oh crud, he's gonna know if I made the wrong choice. And his fulfillment of like, oh yeah, this wine is so good, and like he
Yeah.
confirms that Sweeps knew what he was talking about. Even something as small as that was, yes, you know what you're doing. You're good. Trust yourself. And so there was a lot of good moments throughout the season of that trust yourself idea.
Exactly. It was a little bit rough at the very start because the
Yep.
show starts out with like the pipe bursting and that gross water like flooding everything, and it could be played a little bit for humor, but I was also thinking like this is like season 1 stuff. Are we going back to this now? And I wasn't loving it, but then it set off the tone of like everything's gonna go wrong. They're all gonna get mad at each other, but they're gonna still have a success at the end of the day.
Yeah, it was really smart to shorten the time length of the season, to say we're doing this whole season outside of the final episode. We're doing the whole season over the course of one day. And that one day is actually on the heels of the season 4 finale. So this is their chance to put agency to what they said in that final conversation between Carmy and Richie and Sydney in that outside alleyway of like, yes, we're actually going to be better and we're actually going to do the right thing, and to have the opportunity to show their growth.
Yeah.
And so there's so many times where it's like what you said is like, oh, it's the season 1 thing, something bad's going to happen, so they bring back the chaos, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the reactions of all of the cast are different, and how they handle the chaos after the 4 seasons of essentially therapy that they all went through together, that they're in a much better place.
And they gave every character something.
Yeah, go ahead.
They gave every character something. Like, Tina is going to be the second in command to Sydney, and Sydney's going to be stepping up. And Marcus won that award. He's trying to prove it to his dad. And Ibra with the off-screen calls to Albert about the franchise. Like, every character's got something important going on.
Yeah. And Ibram is so funny. I'm like, we can talk about him later, but gosh,
Yeah,
I will not be distracted by your hypnotic blue eyes.
that was great.
He's such a great character, and he didn't have a lot, but every time he was on screen, he stole the show. He was fantastic.
Oh, absolutely.
So last episode of TV Guys, we talked about Lost, and we talked about moments for these character arcs, and there was a full arc moment in this season that I felt really solidified this feeling that you and I had of, oh no, things went wrong, but wait, things are different for them emotionally now. And that was when Carmy, I think it's the second to last episode, maybe third to last episode, but Carmy, they needed to get this dish out, and he drops the dish, and it was the last that they had of this meat, and they didn't have a plan B. They didn't have any backup, and he drops it. He makes this rookie mistake, and you see it in Carmy's eyes, this panic. And it's like you can hear the Vietnam helicopters, right? The PTSD flashback of Chef Winger from season 1 yelling in his ear like, you're so worthless. You're still like, how dare you? And Richie gets the big moment of showing how far he's come, of saying, cousin, you got this. We're good.
Yeah.
And you're just like, that's what we freaking needed this whole time. Can you guys just be nice to each other? Finally, they are a team, and they're saying, when you fail, you've got a support system now that can handle your failure and is there for you. And it's like, that's what this whole show has been about, is building that support system by treating each other with respect and not yelling over or whatever. And it took them a while to get there, but they got there.
Yeah, there was a lot less Carmy and Richie being awful to each other, which I like. I know people probably liked that, but I didn't like that. So I like this season because
yeah. I mean, I don't know if people would say, "Hey, I like that," but it would be interesting. There is interesting TV of that dynamic of like, okay, you want what's better, right? You want them to get on the other side of this.
I like it when it's the team as a unit against all the chaos of the circumstances instead of the team against each other. It's
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the term for that is that there's this niche that we love to see, that a lot of people like to see, that we call competency porn, where it's like we love to see characters be competent. It's why CSI got 3 spinoffs and a total of like 90 seasons between the 3 shows, right? Like everyone on CSI is good at what they do. They're all very competent.
Yeah. I would say same thing about Criminal Minds, but it seems like every season one of the main guys is getting kidnapped, so maybe not them.
So it's nice to finally see that itch scratched in this and to see them succeed. Because that's why I liked season 2, because they had their struggles and they had their perseverance, but there was some small wins in it, right? Like being able to the bubble test or whatever that was towards the end of season 2, where it's like, we got to make sure there's no gas leaking, and then we're going to be good to cook here. And it showed like every single person the camera pan by them and all kind of their crap that they're going through, and they all needed that win, and they got the win. And so you needed stuff like that all along. So season 2 had some of those moments where season 1 didn't so much, and it's why I like season 2. Like Forks was a great episode that had that moment for Richie.
I'll admit it's been like 2.5 years since we watched season 2, so I very vaguely remember anything from that far back.
But you remember the episode with Richie where he's staging at the other restaurant?
Oh yeah, I remember Forks. Yeah,
because that's such a great Richie moment. That's the little win. Like, we need wins like that. We can't have characters in Arrested Development for 4 seasons or 5 seasons.
Well, there was Arrested Development for 5 seasons, but none of them, they weren't all that good.
So this, like, I know we have a lot more to talk about, and this is more like a recap thing that we could talk about at the end. But I would say I think that much ado has been made about the split of season 3 into 2 seasons, season 3 and season 4.
Yeah,
because I mean, we've if you follow the Bear at all, you know that there's this intention to have the plots of season 3 and 4 be one full season, and that FX ordered more because it was such a popular show, and they split it between 2 seasons, but they didn't have enough content to fill 2 seasons worth, and that's why it felt like those 2 seasons stagnated, right?
A little bit. Maybe that's why they did a whole episode about Tina's backstory then.
Yeah, and that's not so bad. Like that
No,
was
I
one
like
of the
that
better
one.
episodes
Yeah.
of that, because you get to go back, like the fishes episode. Yeah, that's it. That was a train wreck, but we got to go back and see some new evidence. Like, but there's like several episodes in season 3 that's like, this episode did nothing. We didn't. John Cena showed up randomly. We didn't go anywhere. What's going on with this? And
Yeah.
so, if that wouldn't have happened, and if season 3 and 4 would have been one season and more focused, I think the whole of the Bear, all 4 seasons, would have been very well received, and I think it would really have gone down as like peak television, because they did stick the landing.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. I think this. It felt like it was earned, the finale. I was confused by one of the big things in the finale, and we can talk about that. But overall, I thought it wrapped everything up really well.
Sure. Should we talk about characters and kind of go one by one on some of their stuff this season?
Sure. Who do you want to start with?
Why don't we start with Carmy, the bear?
The bear, yeah. Can I just jump into what confused me about him in the finale?
Yeah.
So the whole thing we're leaning towards, he's wanting to leave. He's wanting to pass the bear on to Sydney, and he's always being cagey about what he's doing next. And maybe I missed something, but he's wanting to quit being a chef and go into architecture. That seems like it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think it was just looking to do something, like needing to work and not knowing what his work would be, but he needs to work, right? Because I think his thing about being a chef was he lost the love of cooking, but even though he was still really good at it, and it became like this pressure, because he kind of doesn't, he pretty much spill his guts to Bonnie Hunt about that.
She says what we're all thinking is like, okay, what does that have to do with anything?
Yeah. And it's him just kind of verbally processing. It's been a little bit since I've seen that exact scene. I can't remember exactly what he says for his motivation. Do you remember that pretty well?
He basically says like, I'm good, but I'm a jerk when I'm cooking, when I'm in charge. I need to change. I need to do something else.
Yeah.
And also, I completely forgot, who is John Mulaney in this story?
He is dating Sarah's character, Sarah Paulson, I think.
Okay.
No, not Sarah Paulson. I can't remember what her name is.
He's just a friend, right? He's not related to anybody?
Yes. Correct.
Okay.
I'm looking up, man. Guys, I know names. I know names really well. The character's name is Michelle, so he's actually now married to Michelle.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sarah. I was Sarah Paulson. I was right.
Okay.
So Michelle is like a cousin to Carmy, and John Mulaney is married to Michelle.
Okay, but even though Carmy, the series as a whole, is his story, this season was much more Sydney and Richie focused. I feel like he was kind of took a back seat in this season, both in and out of universe.
And I think part of that was intentional too, in terms of Carmy, when he gets over involved and he gets into his obsessive mode, there's no latitude for people. And so he also kind of, he puts this pressure on himself, but he also puts this like, when the good happens, you made it happen because it was you, but he never gets cocky about it. He really just gets on the negative side of it. When the bad happens, it's your fault that you screw everything up. And so because his identity was in cooking, and things go wrong when you're a chef, that's what I was trying to say. When things go wrong when you're a chef, he takes it all personally. He takes it so heavily on his shoulders, and that it's his fault, and that no one can love him because of the mistakes that he made while he's cooking. And that kind of pressure is unhealthy. And that's why he's like, I need to step away from this. I can't let that be my identity. And we've seen in the seasons how they use the freezer to to illustrate his emotional state, right?
Yeah.
And so like how he locks himself in the freezer at the end of season 2 because he's just so locked up by his own emotions and he can't get out and he's screaming in this freezer. And so that's why it's so important in season 5 for him to finally have exorcised his demons and gotten them out. And we see that shot or those couple shots of the freezer completely empty. Yeah. He's emptied all of this baggage that he's been carrying about the bear and about who he is, and he's able to let it go. And it's so refreshing. So that the point when is he the one that makes the joke about the freezer being locked?
I think so. Yeah,
which is a great callback because it shows his growth too. It's like that was a low point for him, and he's able to make light of it and be like, "Aha, gotcha."
The freezer is like the therapy box.
Yes.
All right, who do you want to jump to next?
Well, let's go to Richie because we just went from Carmen, like you said. This is also Sydney's story too, but there's a lot of Carmy versus Richie, or together,
and a little bit of Sydney versus Richie. Okay.
Yep.
Richie is never going to be my favorite character just because of the type of character he is, but this is the character I hated him the least.
Yeah.
Or this is the season. I make fun of you for saying things wrong. I say things wrong all the time. I listened back to our podcast, and I should really stop doing that because I don't like me. I like you in our podcast. I don't like me.
You know, we do such a good job of sucking together. That phrasing wasn't as good.
I listened to the episode recently, Ben, an old one where you had your dad on. We're talking about 60s TV.
Yeah.
I'm awful. You and your dad are both very interesting in that one. I'm awful.
Stop. You're being like Carmy right now. Whenever anything in the podcast goes wrong, it's always me. I screw it up.
Anyway, but no, Richie, because Richie, you can see like it's a train wreck, but you totally feel it where he's supposed to cancel the reservations. Everyone he calls, this is like the most special night of my whole life. I can't believe I get to come to the Bear. It's like he can't bring himself to cancel, and you know it's going to go wrong, and he knows it's going to go wrong. And it's like we're just all along the ride with him.
That is such a good plot development because it allows for comedy. It shows who Richie really is. That like Richie loves to make things special for people. He loves to like make this night be amazing. Like he is in his calling. He's in his purpose. That's why I loved season 2 Richie so much, is because he was like, what's my purpose? I don't know what I'm doing. And like, he found it in Forks. And so I'm a sucker for people learning their purpose and being good at it. And so he is good at what he does, and he's able to make it work. And again, it's that competency porn where it's like, you have a bed that you have to make and lie in because you screwed up. But dang it, if it's not entertaining the way that he's able to solve this and how he brings in the facts to do like this party outside. And it's like, this is all so, messed up, but he makes it work. And it's so fun to watch.
And there was still that underpinning thing where I think at one point when everything's in the middle of going to crap, Sydney's like, I am going to punch you in the face, Richie. I'm going to punch Richie. And at the end, they're good, but the whole time, I was so expecting there to be a moment where at the end, I wasn't expecting her to punch him. I thought she was going to slap him, and he'd be like, okay, that's fair. And I was a little disappointed that didn't happen.
Which again, it shows the growth of their relationship, too, because Sydney, we'll go into Sydney next, but, she's struggling as well, but she's still able to make it work, and she's still able to do well in her role, but she's still green behind the ears. She's not like a professional about it yet, but yet she's still really good.
Yeah.
And she does such a good job. And so Carmy and Sid can be frustrating because they're both their biggest enemy, right?
Yeah.
They both get in their own way too much.
Are we basically on Sydney now, basically?
I guess so.
Okay.
Well, okay. Well, because I did want to ask this question before I get back to Sydney. The one last thing with Richie, why did he get in a car accident at the beginning of this season at the end of Gary? That served nothing to the plot of this season.
In the beginning, he keeps telling people, I got an accident. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. And it never comes up again.
I thought he was going to be concussed. Because he had some
or
moments
something.
early on in this season where it seemed like he wasn't quite there. Like it wasn't quite a Richie reaction. I was like, something's wrong. And
then
yet it didn't have any sort of payoff.
And then the other end, which you could have combined them, he was like scared of going on the plane because he's never to Japan because he's never flown. They could say, oh, maybe it's because of the car crash, but it wasn't because of that. And his being afraid of flying, a few people were like, no, you're fine. Like, okay. And then again, nothing came of that.
But Richie got there with Jessica. Like,
yeah,
we knew from season 2, oh, something's gonna happen here, and they finally got there because she's a good character too. She's again that just she's so fiercely competent. She's so good at her job, and to have her back of house and him front of house, like killing it on both sides, that's such a dynamic pairing.
So this is probably something that I'm just forgetting from season 3 or 4. You have to remind me. Okay, so the whole thing this season is there's no money and they're broke. How did they have the money to hire her and Luca? Aren't they like really like well-renowned chefs?
Luca is a stage, so he's free.
Okay, so he's just doing it pro bono.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense. I was thinking, I know these guys are good, but if you're bleeding money and you have like the world's like most expensive chefs, I feel like Cicero would be like, can we fire them?
Well, she's what is she? Oh, I want to say hostess, but not really. I don't know what that back of the house is called. But between her and then the waiter who showed him around at Forks too.
Yeah.
Both those two came back, and they are very good and top notch. But that's probably another reason why they're in the hole is because they do have to pay for these great guys. But yeah, they'll probably pay the facts at like minimum wage. So they're just happy to be there, right?
Oh, absolutely, and I love that scene. Okay, now if we're going to Sydney, I love that scene at the end where she's like, under her breath, "Thank you, and I hope you can still be there for me, even though I'm not Carmy." It's like, what? That was a really nice moment for her to show appreciation to the facts.
Yeah. Sydney had a great season of seeing her, like her. What's the word where she's it's nervousness but not anxiety, but it's not trepidation
yeah,
at her new role early on in the season, because she finally agreed, yes, we're doing the bear, I finally signed the papers, I'm all in on this, know. And so, but she's never been in this position where she has this prestige, and to watch her be able to trust herself and trust the people around her to the point of eventually getting stars, that was really good. And yet it's still like, as good as she is, Carmy still has that moment in the second to last episode where it's like, we need something, and Carmy comes in of like, wait, I've got something for this thing. It's like for the dessert, right? I think that's what it was.
Yes. The tuna thing? No,
that was very non-specific. And once again, if we go back and listen to our podcast, we're like, what are you guys talking about? we need scripts. I think we need scripts. We're going to back up. So in episode 7 in Caramel, when they ran out of whatever it was, their dessert, so they misjudged it.
Yeah.
Carmen's like, I've got an idea. And he comes in and he improvises this replacement dessert. And you see this look on like Luca's face of like, that's why Carmy's there. That's why freaking Carmy's the best. Remember, Carmy's amazing. But yet, as good as Carmy is, he's also able to trust and show Sydney the trust that she has, because there's a couple dishes in this season that make that appearance. There's the Tina's Brussels sprouts from Family.
Yeah.
There's Sydney's Coca-Cola short ribs, and that's like the one that is used for when they think it's going to be, when Carmy drops the plate, he's like, this is what we're doing. We're doing your short ribs because your short ribs are amazing. And yes, they're going to the guy that we think is the Michelin star.
Yeah.
And so this dish really matters, and we're putting Sydney's dish out there. Mm-hmm. So for her to get that validation, even though once she finally stopped chasing it,
Yeah.
was a good finish. There, those are better words, guys. We know what we're doing. We're professionals.
Yeah, and with Sydney, it's something that I can relate to now with the cooking. I am not a good chef, but in she was a great chef. She was good at being there under Carmy, right? And I had that a few years ago when I was in my position at work, and I knew I was good at what I was doing, and then I was nervous about getting promoted to the next stage up where you have a little more responsibility because like, well, I'm good at that, but now I'm going to be like in charge of stuff, and I don't know how, and I felt that nervousness too, and that's kind of how Sydney was like. I'm stepping out of my comfort zone of something. She could have stayed being a chef for the rest of her life. She would have been limiting herself, but she would have never been unsure of herself. But she needed to move to that growth, to the next step, and she did it great. And it's so relatable. I feel like a lot of people have that same situation, just in whatever field they're in.
Absolutely. That's one thing that's so great about this show is that we see different mental illnesses portrayed without ever being diagnosed. Like
Yeah.
we see clearly Carmi's dealing with some PTSD. And
Oh,
not just
absolutely.
from Mikey killing himself, but also again from Chef Winger, from his past, and from his mom. Like he's been abused verbally so much through his life. And then we see with Sid that she has imposter syndrome, which is what you're describing, that imposter
Yeah.
syndrome of like, who the F am I that I am in this position? How dare I be this person? I'm just pretending, and someday everyone's going to find out that I don't know what I'm doing. And yet she's able to like and so it's very fulfilling to see her rise above that and grow into that same confidence of like, no, I can keep up. I deserve to be here. And I really liked that. I mean, we knew it when it's like, oh, did I get a star? No, you got two. Like you know when he has
Yeah.
that pregnant pause, you're like, yeah, she got 2 stars. She's gonna do better than Carmy. That's what the whole thing, and it's great. I wish we would have seen probably the rest of the cast or the rest of the crew
Yeah.
hear about the 2 stars, but we only got that moment with them. It's fine.
In that moment
would be
during the
my one
pause, I saw it coming, but I was like, okay, they better have gotten stars, or this is going to be awful.
Yeah. I did tell Angie early on in the season when we were watching, I'm like, that phone call that Carmy keeps ignoring, I bet you it's that guy from last season who they made it snow for, and like that he was the critic because you thought he was last season, and then now he's trying to get a hold of, like, it's probably him, and it's probably like a bait and switch for who the Michelin guy is in this episode, that, oh, he's coming to dinner tonight, we better do it right.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Any more about Sid?
I think I've said everything you need to go say about Sid.
Yeah, so those are the 3 bigs. Obviously, we've got more, and we'll keep going. But those are the 3 bigs. So much happens on their shoulders, and now there's slightly less stuff. So there is the relationship between Marcus and Luca, which, what a great bromance, guys. That was so fun, and to the point that it actually made me so mad when they started fighting. And like, you can understand why they're fighting, right? Because, you know, Marcus had just lost his mom not too long ago, and he's trying to prove something to his dad. So he's dealing with the pressure of that, of like, it's still a little bit, I don't know how to diagnose that one. It's still a little bit of an imposter syndrome, I think, but it's like, it's father issues. Like, Dad, I'm worth it. I'm worth your time. I like, look at what I've done. Look at what I've created. I'm wanting to make you proud of. And so like, for Luca to start abandoning him, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's abandonment issues. For him to feel like Luca's now suddenly abandoning him, he flies off the handle at him. It's like, no, guys, just talk about it. You're in a better place now. Come on. Don't end on a bad note.
Yeah, and Marcus is the character that like everybody loves, and like he's like, it's impossible to hate Marcus throughout the whole series.
I attribute that to the actor. I feel like Lionel Boyce has this characteristic that he brings to his roles. I haven't seen him in anything else except for in Project Hail Mary, which, by the way, if you haven't seen Project Hail Mary, go see it. It is the best movie of 2026 so far, and it's one of my favorite movies of the last few years. It was fantastic. So he's got a little small of a role in Project Hail Mary, but he's still very likable, and yet he's a government stiff in it. but there's just something about Lionel that like shines through in his characters. It's like, this guy is charming. Like, I trust this guy. I feel like I could have I don't drink beer, but it's like I could have a beer with him sort of guy,
Yeah.
you know?
Absolutely, and that's maybe why there's not as much story with him as there is like with Carmy and Sydney and Richie, because he doesn't have the character development, because we don't start out like he doesn't have as much to go, because he's always just great. He just has to prove it to himself and get over like he said, his abandonment issues.
Yeah. And he's also he has such a healthy, like his obsession is more healthy. Where it's like, I really want to create like the best dessert. I want to do this. I want to do great. And yeah, he got a little sidetracked in season 1 and didn't do the timing right, whatever. But like, Carmy will get obsessed, and he'll get obsessed in a very destructive way. But Marcus is like very focused, and so he'll be able to really tear at something and knock down a problem and really like come at it with a very creative way. And he pushes himself, and he's such an admirable character. And he's one of the best, kindest characters, where it's like, if anything bad happens to Marcus, I'm fighting someone, you know?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So he didn't have, I wouldn't put him as like a big arc, whereas like Richie has like the biggest arc to me. I think he's got probably the biggest arc of any character.
Or Carmy, but maybe actually I think I agree it is Richie.
Yeah, Carmy's up there, but yeah. I think Richie's number 1. All right, so let's talk about Sugar Bear Nat.
I was gonna say that, and yeah, she, I feel like, is sometimes the most sane character on this show.
Yes. She also has this nice charm too, where it's like she's sweet. She can be fierce for sure, especially to keep up with all of these fierce Chicago boisterous people. But yet she's just so kind, right?
Yeah. She's kind, but she also has a lot of mom issues for sure. Yes. And having her go through that, at one point, I think she says, "I don't think mothers should have daughters."
And man, that's ridiculous to have her mom come in, and when she shows up and it's just like sucks the air out of the room, people are like, "Why is she here? What is it? Of all the days she's here now?" But yet, like her name's Nat. Natalie.
Yeah.
She takes charge of like, no, this is fine. I needed her here. She'll be in the back. Like, and they trusted her. They trusted that Natalie is at a place of strength, that she'd be able to keep the mom in check. Yeah. And so, and to her credit, she does.
And I think with Nat, and we also see this with Tina as well, she gets balanced out by having a very supportive husband at home that like is kind of like her safe space among all the craziness. And when he comes in and he's like a golden retriever, he's like, "Oh, you want me to take out garbage? Cool. You want me to go hang out with these guys and help them try to get the air rights? Cool. I'm just here to help."
He is the best. Is his name Pete? Right?
Pete, yeah.
Yeah. Pete is so great. Like, he's the same as Marcus, where it's like, anything bad happens to Pete, we riot, right? Yeah. And so, like, for him to just step in and be like, "Yeah, I'm here to help. I'll take care of whatever I need to take care of." That was a great way to include Pete for this season, when it all has to be at the Bear. You don't have time for this other outside of this place nonsense. It's all there in one day. And Pete just shows up and he's able to make things happen.
That's kind of a good segue. If you want, there is an entire subplot that's outside the restaurant, which is with Cicero.
Yes.
And Computer. And is it Cheese?
It is. Real quick before we get into it, as you introduce this, yes, just quick yes or no, did you like the introduction of Cheese? Was she a good character to you?
She was a good character, but she wasn't necessary, I don't think. They could have done the whole thing with just him and Computer.
They could have. I liked Cheese. I don't know what it was about her. I wish again, for a podcast, when we're giving you our thoughts, we can't just, she was good and we move on. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to kind of be that way. I don't know what it was, but I liked her. I
was almost waiting for her to like be secretly against them, or like to be like a secretly a jerk or something, but she never was. Which I liked. That would have been, we didn't need another chaos, hole in the boat kind of thing.
Yeah. It was weird how big their money problems were of a plot point, how little in retrospect we did get of, especially Uncle Jimmy,
Yeah.
of Cicero, that he didn't have a lot. He had like a handful of lines per episode, and then
Yeah.
just kind of disappeared. But I thought like I thought all three of them were good. Their interactions together was some good comedy. It's a different comedy than the facts, and we needed a different comedy than the facts.
But it also showed that even though he's losing money left and right, he still really cares, and deep down he wants the thing to succeed. Even if he's canceling orders and all that, he's trying to stop the bleeding, but he wants to get them to a point where it succeeds.
Yeah.
And okay, what is the deal with that's? I must have either I'm missing something or it's like a big inside joke. When they go to that lady's house to try to get the air rights, and they're all like freaking out over, was it Raymond? Like, is Raymond here? And they're all, who's Raymond?
I don't remember, man. I don't know what it was either.
Because that seems like it has to be something that there's talked about beforehand. But I looked, I Googled, and other people are saying the same thing. And it seems like this is an unseen off-screen character they just have beef with.
Okay. So I'm looking it up, and it was a similar idea as like the Francie Fack, where we hadn't met her, and they just keep talking, they keep bringing up Francie, and it's just kind of like, oh, this was that person, and they have an issue with them, and because you and I had the same question, I don't think the joke lands.
No.
We just felt like we were on the outside. They were trying to be like, hey, there's an inside joke about Raymond. You don't need to know what the inside joke is, but there's this inside joke about Raymond. And we're just like, did I miss the inside joke? Yes, we did, because they never told it to us. Yeah. So it was more confusing than it was funny.
Well, and there's this whole thing about trying to get the air rights, which sounds like the rights to like expand and build upwards, but they never talked about wanting to like build another story onto so why did they need the air rights?
Yeah, it was to sell them as a last ditch attempt to keep the restaurant afloat. Okay. To get just a little bit of like cash flow,
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense, because like they make no point about trying to go up. So I guess that whole storyline with Uncle Jimmy was good and for character development, but it could have used a polish on the plot, I think.
Yeah, because the plot of it then was like, okay, well, we can't get the air rights. What's the next thing that we can do? Oh yeah, Ibrahim's franchise thing. Well, that's a great idea. Yeah, that's been a great idea this whole time. So it was a little clumsy, and it felt like fillery. You're right.
Yeah.
But it culminated in Ibrahim's theme, which Ibrahim's storyline was pretty great. It's small, but it's the glue of how do we keep the bear going? Well, we franchise the beef windows.
Well, and also it had to be small because you couldn't have the person he's talking to on the phone, which sadly was Rob Reiner playing Albert. Yeah.
And there was this talk when Rob Reiner was alive and when season 4 came out, because Rob Reiner played Albert in the ways like he could be taking Ibrahim for a ride. He could be actually scamming him a little bit, or like be a partner that's going to be a little bit heavy on the way we negotiated these rights is I get like 60%, you get 40%, some crap like that. And so there was a little bit of that question. They probably weren't going to go that way if we're being honest.
Yeah.
Because they had too much stuff that they're focusing on with the bear and Carmine with the main story for that to be a big plot point. But
would you get the reference if I said that you're describing what the Dexter Reed?
I would not get the reference.
That is from Good Burger, when Keenan's character basically cons Ed into selling his secret sauces. I get to keep like 80%, and it basically says it's what you're describing. And but I'm glad they didn't go with that. But as you're describing, I'm like, okay, I have to make this reference.
I will say I didn't have a Good Burger reference on my bingo card for this episode.
Well, I didn't have you opening up with a Kermit the Frog joke, so we're even.
All right, fine. I guess we both didn't get what we wanted. No, that's right.
We got something we didn't know we needed.
No one needed it. I need to see that play like I need a hole in the head. All right. Well, who else did we have? We had Nat and Bear. Oh, and then we haven't talked about Tina. And
There's not much to say about Tina, unfortunately. A little bit, but she
yeah,
she had her big moments in the early seasons.
she was similar to Marcus, where we didn't have like a lot of growth for her this season, but she did get her moments to shine.
Mm-hmm.
And it when we first meet Tina, like she wasn't as bad as Richie, you know.
No, not as bad,
But she definitely had sticks up her butt that was like, I don't like this character. And now, like after season 2, and definitely where we're at in season 5, we're like, we love Tina. Tina is fantastic. She's the one that, like, if there really was someone with abandonment issues, we'd put it on Tina.
Yeah.
There was like, that's what when we meet her in season 1, she's like, I need belonging. I need to know that these people are never gonna leave me. And so when there's the threat of, oh, we're changing what Mikey did, I'm so loyal to him and I'm so loyal to this beef, and you're trying to change something and it's going to ruin everything. Yeah, we can understand why she feels the way she feels.
Especially with her backstory episode last season.
Yeah. But now she is confident in who she is, and she is seeing her worth through the eyes of people who see her as worthy, like Sydney and like Carm, and like how Mikey was when he first met her too.
Yeah.
And so she's able to step more into that, and nothing says that bigger than her moment when they use her Brussels sprouts as this is the family meal, or this is the family dish that we're doing for this section, you know.
Yeah. Well, and it's also kind of the same thing, like the imposter syndrome like Sydney had, where Sydney says, I forget what it's called. It's got like an initial something, CD something, but where she's going to be like her second in command.
Yep.
And we as the audience are like, yeah, of course it's going to be Tina. But she's like, me? Can I do that? It's the same kind of thing.
Yes, absolutely. And this show, it didn't have as many moments as earlier seasons of like, let's show you really nice food and make you super hungry and be like, oh, I want this. But they did that with Brussels sprouts early on. And not gonna lie, I've wanted some really good Brussels sprouts since watching this show. If you do Brussels sprouts right, they are absolutely dynamic. They're so good. And I'm probably in the minority of saying that, but I do love them.
It's actually funny you say that. Sabrina and I went to, actually, a shout out to Granite City in Waite Park, Minnesota, St. Cloud, where one of their appetizer, what they're known for, is their like balsamic vinegar Brussels sprouts. And she got them, and they were really good. Yeah. If you want a good Brussels sprout,
where is that?
Granite City in St. Cloud.
Okay.
Granite City is the name of the restaurant.
Oh, I think there's one even in the Minneapolis airport.
Yeah, there's a few places of that, but yeah, Granite City. Look up that restaurant, and look up their Brussels sprouts.
I think it is in the airport. I might have to. Right? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's nope. Looking at the nearest to the Minneapolis St. Paul, it's located in Eagan, 15 minutes away. I'm wrong. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'll have to check out a Granite City next time I can.
But actually, this is a good time. Since I mentioned her, this is the first episode that we're recording since I am now officially engaged to past and future podcast guest Sabrina, which is how I'll be announcing her from that one.
Congratulations. And this is also the first one where I've sold my house. And so by the next episode, maybe the next episode, I should be in our new house. I'm not sure. But
I will not be married by the next episode.
Well, get on it, man. I'm looking up Granite City restaurant. What's the nearest one to me? Hooches and 16s. That's not what it is. That's not what I'm looking for. Oh, it showed me restaurants in Granite City, Illinois. Okay, that's not what I need. You know what? Forget this. We have an episode to talk about. You dangled. It's not a carrot. You dangled Brussels sprouts in front of me, and I'm just chasing them like a stupid.
I'm going to cut a little bit of this out, but I'm going to leave enough in so that just I feel like this is a really funny distraction.
No, don't cut any of it. Leave it all. Maybe not this part, but I don't know. You go with what your gut says. All right. Now enough about Brussels sprouts. We talked about Well, we talked about all the characters, right?
Well, I mean, there's always Neil Fack. There's not a ton to talk about him, except he's great. He's like the perfect utility guy. He's always there for them. His version of the therapy box was the bathroom, not the freezer.
Oh, what's the line? Because he has a moment too. It's again that you know more than you do when you realize you know.
Yeah.
And it was just like when he went to one of these tables. I think it was the table that had like the Chicago Weatherman. By the way, huge stunt casting for the city of Chicago. They got this beloved weatherman who played himself. He was the guy who was sitting at the table with like that one the Dearborn, who they thought was going to be the Michelin guy, and he was like all about the wine and the tannins, and he was really full of himself.
Yeah,
he was the old guy sitting there with him.
Is that what you're talking about when Neil went over and like went on this story, which seemed random at first, but ended up being like just the perfect thing to say?
Yeah, and what is it? He says something like really inappropriate to him. It's just
he's right.
Like having sex with yourself or whatever, and like the guy's like, I can't imagine that. I can't fathom that. It's just the weatherman's reaction to whatever nonsense Neil said. I can't remember what it was, but it was very much not appropriate. Was just tremendous.
I'm trying to look it up now to see what it was. Oh, I can't find the transcript, but I wish I knew what that joke was. But it's one of those things where it's like you have to know your audience with any kind of joke that crosses the line. Like, will the person receiving this appreciate it? And it's like, you think it's going to go bad, but it's like, okay, cool. He bought us some time, I think, or something like that.
What's funny is that it wasn't even a joke. He didn't even tell a joke. He just, like, that's just how he is. And he just says it without a filter.
But even that, like, you got to know who,
correct.
Who should be filtered around.
Correct.
Yeah.
And speaking of some ridiculousness, the plot point of Richie needing to empty tables, so he brings people back into the kitchen to stand there while they're cooking. This was absolutely ridiculous, but top notch. It ended up being really funny.
Absolutely, and just like that's like their exit strategy.
And I just love how everyone else in the kitchen were like, these guys cannot pick up a hint. It's that the Julian, who's the guy who did like that milk video, Julian?
Oh, Julian Smith. Oh man, that's a name I haven't thought about.
He does another video about trees hate you, where he's trying to get people to leave that are guests that have been in the house, and it's like they're not picking up the signals, so then they just go way overboard and they are like screaming at their guests, and it culminates in Julian saying trees hate you or whatever. It's ridiculous and stupid, as are all of his videos, but it's like they want to be able to say that because no one's picking up that they just need to go. They're not welcome anymore.
Best example of this though is, okay, so I don't know if we've talked about it on this podcast or not, but there's the horrible, like the comically horrible Star Wars holiday special from like 1978, and it was never released on DVD, and Disney tries to pretend like it doesn't exist. It was never released on DVD, but Carrie Fisher asked to have a copy on VHS made specifically so she said that way I can play it at parties to make people leave when they've been here too long.
Oh man, Carrie Fisher was quite the person.
Also, just to backtrack, I looked it up. The thing that Fax said was, "You ever been effed so hard a banana comes out of your butt?"
What does the weatherman say? Because it's like, no, but I can imagine that would be something.
Yeah, something like that. It doesn't have that. It just had. I just looked up that part of it.
Wait, just a ridiculous statement. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
But somehow it works. They loved it.
Yeah. So outside of the main three, out of all the other like secondary players, who do you think is your favorite?
Pete. I love Pete.
I was gonna say Nat.
Aw, maybe our favorites can get together and hook up in an alleyway or something.
I totally called that too. I'm like, they're gonna do it in the alley, and they did.
Like, oh, Natalie Brzado, you dog. I didn't think Pete had it in him. It's, like, I see Pete, and every time I just think of that Becoming Your Parents commercial.
Oh, he's the guy from that, isn't he?
He is the guy from that.
I just realized. I love those commercials.
He's not in them anymore, I don't think, but he was in like some of the earlier ones. He was in like several of them, 5 or 6 probably.
There's one I've seen recently, the one of where they're waiting for the valet. That one you see all the time.
Oh yeah, he is in that valet one.
We had the red convertible.
He does it so well. He's very good at being like stuck up white. He's not stuck up. But white guy that is socially awkward, I guess. I don't know.
Speaking of turning into your parents, I was at Valley Fair on Saturday, and you know who I ran into? Ben Freitag, friend of ours. And
I did know that,
yeah, I'm sure you did. Just with like looks and voice, he is turning into his dad.
Nice. Oh,
with more hair.
I could think of what I was going to say about the actor who plays Pete.
Sure.
If white privilege was a person, that's Pete.
Yeah, right. that tracks. Yeah, this is. I was unsure when I knew we had to do the Bear season 5, and you gave me the out. But I'm glad that I said no, we got to do it, because I would have had a worse taste in my mouth for this show if I didn't finish it all the way through.
Yeah, and like season 5 was. They knew we needed a breather. Like, sure, there was still there was still stress. There was still conflict. There were still problems that they were working through. And when it started off in that season of like, hey, we're laying out, here's all the problems. Look at all this stuff that we have. And so that everyone knows the stakes as we go through this, you expect the worst. Because again, these people rarely showed up to their best selves. But we got in the end of season 4, we got Fishes part 2, where they had all learned, and it was no longer the reaction that they had in Fishes episode where someone drives a car into the house and like huge fighting. No, they were able to healthily process their emotions, and there's a big party and nothing fell apart. No one freaked out. Sure, they all ended up under a table that was like the length of a football field for whatever reason, but no one fell apart. And so we should have trusted, okay, season 5, they're doing that again. They're going to make up for the sins of the past, and they're going to show us how they've grown. And they did. And I'm very thankful that they did that, because we did need to see some positive resolution, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And especially because there's so many people that they watch this show and they see a piece of themselves in it, because we are more aware of our mental health issues, right? As a society and maybe even personally, and knowing, hey, I have something I'm trying to overcome. And so to be able to watch a show and see some very obviously flawed people that try and actually do succeed and get a little bit better and get to a point when they can be functioning and healthy and know how to exist as a part of a team, that should be inspiring to anyone who's walking through any of those issues of like, hey, if I find the right support people, if I find the right outlets to be able to work through some of these issues, I too can find myself in a successful spot. I can find a reward for the hard work I put into this life. And hopefully that inspires people instead of the opposite.
Yeah, and it's like how I said, I really related to Sydney in that moment. Do you have any moments this season where you're like, oh, I really relate to this person going through something?
Yeah, man, we're getting that. Guys, this is our therapy session of the podcast. Personally, I find my shortcomings to be more similar to Carmi's, where for whatever reason, if something's bad in my life, I blame myself, and there's a healthy degree of that, because if you've got to accept responsibility for sure.
Yeah.
But there was a long period of time where it's like, I'm the common factor in all the things that are going wrong in my life. So obviously that leads me to believe it's my fault. And so to realize like, no, it's not that I'm like a screwed up person. It's not that I'm so messed up, I'm messing up everything around me. It's just, that's what happens. And so I can see some of these moments like, oh, Carmy, I've been there, man. I know what you're doing. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're feeling. I know that internal monologue of like, oh, you're so bad at this. You're so terrible. Like, I want the best for you because I want the best for me, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So you're Carmy and I'm Sydney.
Look at, and contrary to all the rumors out there, no one ships this relationship.
I suppose there probably are people who ship them, although I never saw it that way.
There is some online discourse of like, oh, are they going to? Because it's a male and a female, and they're the leads of the show. Yeah, it makes sense that people will be like, hey, their relationship. I'm very glad that they didn't go that route because they're too different of people. And so to have it more as like a mentor, but also a partnership as well, that works well.
Yeah.
They did draw attention to that in who had the line? I think it was John Mulaney, where it's like someone asked about them being a thing, and no, maybe it's Pete. Like them being a thing is like, there's rumors, but I don't know if there's anything to it.
Yeah, this is spitballing on the air here. That could be a potential podcast, which is like best male female strictly platonic pairs, because there's a few good ones that they never go into romantic and they're really good. I'm thinking like Winston and Cece, Marshall and Robin, yeah. Carmy and Sydney.
Those are hard to write because the writers need to have self-control, and they don't always. Looking at you, community, there's no reason for Britta and Troy to ever have been in a relationship in the first place.
That's true. Well, in the other examples,
it in your pants.
Well, the other examples I gave, I mean, Marshall was with Lily the whole season, and Winston was or Cece was with Schmidt. So like half of those pairs were already paired off, so it made it easier.
Yeah,
but still.
Yeah. So, all right. Anything else you want to talk about with the bear?
Not really. I think I've said everything that I got to say about it. I said I think my biggest complaint is I really wanted Sydney to slap Richie.
My biggest complaint is I wanted his car accident to have any sort of bearing instead of just be like, at the end of Gary, you better watch season 5. I'm sure that's really what it was. Yeah. Better watch season 5 to see what happens to Richie. I'm sure that's it.
Spoiler alert, he's fine.
Yeah. Anyway, he walks it off. It's all right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we can move on then. Let's move on to trivia. We can talk about last week. Once again, we had the episode about Lost last time. I always say last week, but it's last time, a couple weeks ago. And that was a great episode. Really good episode. What was trivia?
I knew you were vamping. It was what event takes place on Thanksgiving Day?
That's right. So in the Lost episode, we asked what major event happens on Lost on Thanksgiving Day. Because remember, this happens in their like real time. If the plane crashes on September 22nd, 2004, and then there's a couple. They're on the island for like 60 days, pretty much, something like that. Yeah. And so on Thanksgiving, if you're going day by day, keeping track, on Thanksgiving Day, Michael shoots Ana Lucia and Libby. What a crappy Thanksgiving for them, right? That's what happens.
I was going to try to think of some dumb joke about the Pilgrims and Indians and going for blankets. I don't know. There's nothing there.
You know what happened on Christmas?
The constant.
Well, yeah, but actually I think that was Christmas Eve. I believe that it was Christmas Eve that the phone call happens.
Okay, so what happens the next day?
Yeah, next day was Faraday and Charlotte go off to that one facility to shut down the gas so that Ben can't poison everyone on the island. Or something.
That memorable episode.
What a stupid episode. But.
Yeah. So, but for the bear, as we mentioned, the late Rob Reiner was going to be in this season, but since he passed away, he was not in this season. They did, in the series finale, have one slight nod to kind of pay tribute to him. And so how did they pay tribute to Rob Reiner in the series finale of The Bear?
everyone's head was made of meat, like in All in the Family, when he would be called Meathead all the time.
Of course.
Of course. That's not it. There's a different answer. What? That wasn't the answer? No, obviously not. No. All right. Apparently, I think our listeners are morons. I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the problem. If there's ever anything wrong. All right. Well, that's it for this episode. If you haven't watched The Bear, it's still worth it. I know season 3 and 4 are a dip and it can be a little hard to get through, but that's why we binge, guys. That's why we binge. All right. Until next time, I'm Matt.
I'm Brian.
And we're reminding you to stay tuned and keep watching.